This one can inject 10 people.
Imagine living in a country where dodgy doctors and crooked chemists steal life-saving drugs destined for the sick.
This is a racket. It's a racket of people who are out there to make money out of drugs that are supposed to be given to patients free of charge.
A medical mafia motivated by greed rather than care of patients.
We are dealing with lives. We're not talking about spare parts of a car. We're talking about actually lives.
My name is Solomon Serwanja. I am an investigative journalist and a presenter on Ugandan TV. For the last 10 months, I've headed an undercover team exposing how health workers here are at the heart of a criminal network.
We are not supposed to sell it. We're supposed to give it for free.
The thing is that we need to be trustworthy.
We have been in this game for so long now.
Drugs. The business of drugs is more lucrative than the business of God.
But as we dig deeper into this murky world, things start to go wrong. My undercover team is snatched.
They were taken, could be some bad cops or rogue guys or criminal guys who are holding them, and they may want a ransom, and that when it gets to that, then you get scared, man. You get really, really, really scared.
There are many diseases which kill people in my country, Uganda. But one disease has claimed more lives than any other. Malaria. An estimated 10,000 Ugandans die every year. The start of the rainy season in March means cases of malaria will rise. Here in Kamuli, eastern Uganda, this health center receives 30 cases every single day. Almost all of them are children.
You know, as a parent, it's heartbreaking to see, a son or daughter in pain. Some of these parents bring the kids, late when the malaria has increased from manageable to worse. Make no mistake, malaria is still the #1 cause of death in Uganda, and it cannot be taken lightly.
Medicine to treat malaria and other diseases is given out free by our government, but only when they're in stock. When drugs run out, as too often seems the case, patients have to pay, and parents, many of them poor, cannot afford it.
I would actually sometimes dip into my pocket. So it's an expensive drug for these poor people here. They can't afford.
Do you think then...
They die so much. Patients die. Children die. I should admit they die.
Not being able to get hold of vital medication, as at Kamuli Clinic, can be common in a country where healthcare resources are limited. Government and foreign aid can only cover 67% of the country's needs. But there is a darker side as to why other Ugandan children cannot get free access to drugs like anti-malarials they need to survive. Medicine theft.
This president and his government, they are buying the drugs, but his drugs are being robbed out of this country. It is hurting.
And even more disturbing, it is medicine theft by medical professionals.
It's sad that some people, not all really, we have very good health workers who are committed to their job and who want to serve the population. But we have a few rotten eggs that are actually doing this. And we need to get these rotten eggs out of the basket.
The only way to infiltrate the murky, dangerous world of the medicine mafia is to go undercover. We worked with a government insider, sick of the corruption, willing to guide us into the inner sanctum. We are protecting his identity for his own safety.
If I tell you from the top to the bottom, there are loopholes, there are gaps that people use from the bottom, from the cleaner to the nurses to the top. It's really very hard to fight them unless you have the will and the power to fight it.
Why have you decided to speak up and speak out about this vice, knowing all the risks that are involved?
Because the efforts to fight it are really insignificant. The drugs that are being stolen are worth millions. And if we don't try to stop that habit, then it will go on and on and on and on.
Yeah, of course, it's bad. We feel bad. I feel bad. We know that there are health workers involved in this, and some of them have actually been arrested. But of course, the problem still continues.
Our undercover mission starts in Uganda's capital, Kampala. As my face is too well known in Uganda, I cannot go undercover. So I put together an undercover team, journalists Kasim Mohammed and Godfrey Badevi.
We'll be here waiting for you.
They will pose as foreign businessmen, wanting to buy stolen Ugandan government drugs. They are easy to spot. Boxes are stamped UG, Government of Uganda, not for sale. It's supposed to be an anti-theft measure. Our first target is pharmacist Richard Oraja, said by underworld contacts to sell stolen UG medicine onto the black market. Richard works at this private pharmacy, but he's also a pharmacist at one of Uganda's main hospitals, Chirudu.
I'm a bit caught apart. So it's the pack size that you're always interested in, not so?
Would he sell us a large batch of a UG anti-malaria called Lumatem under the counter?
You're always interested in this type. Yeah. The one for UG, it's there. It's there. I'm going to get you. I just wanted to show you the pack size. So the 10, I'm going to give you the 10 at 350. You know, currently, the problem is that prices are strictly high and the competition for UG is high.
Richard claims he's used to selling UG drugs onto the black market.
I've been in this game for so long now. You know, even the time you first called me, I had 6 clients. They traveled from Congo to them. I'm also supplying them. I'm supplying them tomorrow morning. I have clients waiting for me from the Congo.
Richard is a pharmacist, but he was willing to break the law to do business with us. And it kind of feels like this guy understands what he's talking about. How many cartons can you provide?
You told me you'd wanted 10.
So now 10 cartons will be how many dollars?
10 cartons will be, it is roughly 1,000.
We do a deal and give Richard a $100 deposit, which he pops into his pocket. He promises to deliver the following day. But where, we wondered, does he source the UG drugs he claims to sell? The answer was surprising.
I go to interview. Okay. I go to National Medical Store and see I can buy us and get for you the goods. Okay.
The National Medical Stores, or NMS for short, is where all government drugs are stored before they're distributed across the country.
Him having access to NMS is what gives us the confidence, is what gave us the go-ahead to really think he's the right guy we should be working with.
But is Richard, who claims he works with an NMS insider, to sneak out medicine past its modern security systems, telling the truth? Can someone actually pick a box of medicine from this point?
Where did you pass with the box? Because you saw security guards here, you saw security guards at the exit, the cameras are here, There are systems monitoring. So where do you, if you picked it, if I picked it, where do I pass with it?
If the NMS says that this is not possible, why is Richard saying he's done business with them before?
Can this system be beaten?
You cannot beat it.
But what happens when medicines leave the NMS?
The challenge is that our mandate by law does not allow us to ask for accountability from the health facilities. Our mandate is process the order and deliver it as has been asked. So if somebody says, I want Lumatem, another 200 doses, I cannot ask them why you want this. As long as they fit in their budget, they will take it.
Even if last month they took 500?
Even if they took 1,000 last month, I will assume that actually they have consumed the 1,000. I will only assume.
Isn't that one of the loopholes in the system?
It is the biggest loophole in the system.
It's time for Richard Oraja to deliver on his promise to supply us with 10 boxes of the anti-malarial drug Lumatem. He wants to finalize the deal, and he gives us detailed instructions to meet outside Chirudu Hospital in Kampala, where he also works as a pharmacist.
He told us to park next to a supermarket. But then, just before we arrived, we spoke as a team and then said, let's park just directly opposite the hospital. And then he came out. He was so furious.
Richard is angry because the team parked in a spot covered by security cameras.
I told him to park at the supermarket next, not opposite, next. That's the pharmaceutical.
Although angry, Richard says he is still committed to delivering stolen medicine.
Cash is on delivery. On delivery.
Despite his promises, Richard fails to deliver, citing work pressures. We agree to put aside our deal for the moment. Later, while reviewing the undercover footage, we spot something strange.
We noticed there were a couple of guys who were standing outside after we reviewed the video that we filmed on that day.
When you look at all the frames, there's so many people just moving around the same scene, like doing rounds around the van, behind the van. I got suspicious. I remember I told my colleague, did you see that guy?
When you go into such a project, you're hunting down guys, mafias who are dealing drugs. You gotta be careful, man.
Later, we discovered we weren't careful enough. Nowhere near careful enough. Time to take our investigation to the north of Uganda, to the border town of Arua, where the main state hospital is widely reported to often suffer from medicine shortages. Denied an interview with hospital bosses, I speak to a local and independent member of parliament who wants to know why hospital medicine runs out.
The medicines are delivered by national medical stores in one day. Within a week, they say the medicines are over. The question becomes how?
Bernard Atiku claims he knows the answer to his own question. Medicines are stolen.
We have criminal-minded people who are hiding in some of these facilities. Most of the medicines that have been stolen from here have ended up in Congo, in Sudan. The government really needs to step up because if we are continuing to have these cases recurring, it means there are weaknesses in the government system.
Are there criminally minded people hiding in Arua Hospital, as Bernard claims? Meet Jamila Atim, a records officer at Arua Hospital.
Happy New Year.
How are you?
Fine.
She is prepared to sell to us any Ugandan government medicine we want, offering anti-malarials and 2,000 bottles of hepatitis B vaccines for starters.
It has come to business. Because I'm after, I don't want people to go empty-handed. Yeah. The vial of Hep B is for 10 doses. Sorry? In one bottle, it is a dose for 10 people. So we have 2,000. As I talk now, it is packed in the ice pack. They're supposed to take this one and go and inject the disease.
From the hospital?
Yes, from our hospital.
The vaccines were meant for South Sudanese refugees in northern Uganda. How did Jamila, who says she operates with a network of crooked contacts, get her hands on them?
If they want 5,000, we sign for 7,000. You understand?
They always inflate the requisition. They do not ask for the right dosage that is needed. They always add up some figures to have a surplus for themselves.
The deal is almost done. Jamila calls to have the refugee vaccines delivered to us. For the Ugandan equivalent of around $800, we buy 50 of the 2,000 bottles on offer. A man on a Ministry of Health motorcycle meets Jamila to hand over the stolen vaccines. The bike was donated by Gavi Alliance, an international vaccine initiative founded by Microsoft billionaire Bill Gates.
Some guy came on a bike, a ministry bike, and delivered.
You're transporting hepatitis B vaccines, you're selling them using government facilities. You use the government Ministry of Health motorcycle.
These are government drugs. But if they can easily get out of her office, then there's a problem.
Jamila hands the vaccines over to Kasim.
It's 25.
And the other one, 25.
Yes, it's 50.
So 50 times 10, yeah?
You can see the expiry date is April 2019. We got 50 vaccines, hepatitis B vaccine. Because someone is actually greedy and they think about them and their families, and they're not even thinking about the people who would likely be saved because of these vaccines.
We keep the vaccines safe in a mobile fridge so we can return them to the government of Uganda at the end of our investigation.
We need to expose, we need to expose these thieves. And maybe when we expose, then fewer people will think twice.
Taking on the medicine mafias and exposing them is the job of the Health Monitoring Unit. Created 10 years ago by Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni, its Kampala headquarters is crammed full of seized stolen government drugs.
You can see all these are medicines.
National medical stores.
National medical stores.
Gombe Hospital.
Exactly.
Wow. So these guys actually don't only steal drugs, but they also
There's
steal...
even equipment.
They steal equipment. This
Yeah.
is a whole microscope.
Yeah, so that tells you what is happening.
How big is this problem and where does it majorly happen?
It is all over, but I would say central region, especially Kampala, seems to be the hub of it all. So what is shocking to me is that those people who are doing that, they are abusing the profession. You know, medicine or the medical field is a noble profession. Noble. And I mean, many people look at doctors as second to God. Second to God.
We're going to Gulu, which is about 300 kilometers away from the capital, Kampala. And in Gulu, we're going to be meeting a medical practitioner, Patrick Kidega.
Patrick Kidega runs a private clinic in Gulu called the Charity Medical Center. And according to our sources, he deals in stolen government drugs. Before meeting him, we must first deal with a middleman who will likely report whether or not we are trustworthy. His name is Robert Mugabe.
And for me, I don't want you to get problem.
Yeah.
Because you are brother. And the money which you are looking also for life. To pay school fees and whatever. Yeah. That's why I've been trust you before.
On a serious note now. Now, like if, for example, on Sunday, I buy like 200,000. Police come, what will Patrick do?
Police, they're not going to come. Don't worry about the police.
It's 2 days later, and it seems we've earned Patrick Kidega's trust. Kasim and Godfrey set out to meet him. I shadow them. The idea is to close the deal today and to have the supplies ready today. So let's wait and see how it's going to be. This is Patrick Kidega. He takes us to a back room where we meet a pharmacist, also called Patrick, who, it becomes clear, is also in on the act. They wanted first to underline the illegal nature of this business.
They have indicated here, government of Uganda, not for sale. In actual sense, this one we are not supposed to sell. We're supposed to give it for free.
They were also wary about our team being from the State House Health Monitoring Unit.
People may fear that, why do you want strictly UG? Are you the same people from the State House who want to trap people who are selling drugs from the government?
Despite doubts about our cover story, Patrick Kidega accepts the equivalent of $2,000 from us for a stock of anti-malaria medicines, enough to treat a whole village. Delivery is arranged at a private missionary hospital in Gulu later that same day. They have gone to Lacho Hospital. Lacho Hospital is a private medical facility which has security. So you have to go through security checks. If the alarms go off, that means that they have to be checked. They have to be, searched. That could blow us. But with Patrick as a passenger, the team enter as officials, avoiding security checks.
Once we went there, we met the pharmacist of that hospital, a guy called Alex.
Nothing is there, and it can be good. It is there, but only right now the problem is getting it out.
Alex promised to deliver, but the stumbling block was the security guards.
Now, I'm thinking money is here. Go and talk to this guy.
Patrick suggested, can't you pay him? Can't you pay the new guy? And so off they went.
Patrick claims security guards want money to look the other way, but are asking far more than he's prepared to pay. He says we should wait until nightfall to get the drugs out of the hospital.
This one. They exchange at 6. At 6, at 7.
I think at around 7.
At 7.
7, not 6.
Maybe I come with the ambulance for charity.
The handover is set to take place at night, but nothing happens, and we're just left waiting at our hotel.
What happened to that consignment? Because it was already a deal in progress.
Yeah.
Why all of a sudden, why would someone chicken out?
There are different layers. It's not just Patrick Kidega.
He doesn't probably want to lose the catch of the money, but the drugs are not coming in.
3.5 hours later, and we set off to meet Patrick. It's frustrating. It's been a whole day of waiting. This guy said that we go and meet him at about 7 o'clock, so we just have to wait. Patrick finally turns up without the drugs.
How are you? Fine. So, I know what I'm doing. I must be honest.
That's okay, but my other challenge is, you see, as a business person also, I don't have my money, I don't have my drugs, I have nothing. So what are you offering me?
First wait.
At one point, we really lost hope with Patrick. If he doesn't deliver, we need our money back.
Patrick gives us back $1,500, but we let him keep $500 to keep him sweet. 5 days later, Patrick finally comes through.
We thought we're picking the stuff from town. Because it's in the night, we didn't want to take risks of going somewhere where we felt insecure. But when we got into our car, we drive off, out of town. Then we go off the road. Bushes. Keep driving. We keep going, so we ask, hey, Patrick, where are we going?
Hey, excuse me, where are we going to?
Let's go.
You go and make the what?
But I'm just wondering, where exactly are we going to?
Kasim and Godfrey stop in a village seemingly in the middle of nowhere.
They can't see them. Okay, it's at night.
Yes. Even as we're in the peripheral, we were worried and scared about their lives.
But to our surprise, he came up with a huge carton that had 20 small boxes full of anti-malarial drugs.
Great. 100.
Time to settle up.
1 million.
That was the first pick-up point. Then we drove back to town. He took us to a different location.
And then Patrick drops a bombshell.
So we are going to go straight, like we are going to police station.
The police station. And then I asked, police? Police station?
Even we have been passing from there. Okay, that road connect to...
It's just Patrick's idea of a joke.
Let me tell you one thing. I'm connected with big people. That is it. If any police arrest me with this thing now, they will not take it inside.
Back to Gulu, to the next drug pickup point. Patrick is delivering big time. He loads up 6 more big boxes of anti-malarials.
I think we expected only 2 boxes. But when we get there, 1, 2, 3, it was a whole pile.
That's it, right?
I'm like, this is serious.
Sorry?
And they actually told us there is more in that, but there are more boxes still kept in that place.
The final handover that night is at a small private pharmacy in Gulu, run by a nurse who, it's claimed, used to work for Patrick. All UG medicine boxes have a serial number, and the pair take the drugs out of its original packaging in an attempt to cover their tracks.
I just received a call from one of the teams and they said they're coming with about 40 cartons of Lumatem. Government of Uganda not for sale.
There were in fact 10 boxes of Lumatem and 59 boxes of Combiat, another anti-malarial, all bought for the equivalent of $1,000.
It's hard to sort out now. We cause lots of suspicion.
And the government of Uganda not for sale.
Government of Uganda. You know, it's just written here, government of Uganda not for sale. They're all government drugs. Yeah. So delivered to the dealer, I think so.
Yeah, actually, these come from the National Medical
Delivered
Stores.
to the military operations. Strategic Tarehe Sita, Bombo Military.
And, you know, I remember looking at it and thinking, wow, we're into something else. And that kind of stood out for all of us.
36 of the boxes, more than half of our illegal consignment, should be in military stores.
That means that these drugs, which were supposed to go to the military barracks in Bombo, have found their way in Gulu and eventually to a dealer who actually has been able to sell to us these medicines. Wow.
Bombo is where the Ugandan Army's biggest hospital is based. Is someone stealing from the military? Or is someone in the military stealing the drugs?
Does this mean the military is also involved in this business? Because how does Patrick get access to military medicines meant for military operations? This exposes more people who are in this chain.
To me, the Ugandan Army is a complete no-go area for Ugandan journalists. It's just not safe for us to probe further. We will leave this matter to the state to investigate. Since being set up in 2009, the Health Monitoring Unit says it has fought hard against medicine mafias, clocking up more than 1,000 cases, but it has seen only around 150 convictions.
Mr. Solomon sometimes disappointed. Sometimes some cases, as I talk now, some cases are still dragging on. In fact, cases as old as 2011. 2011, they are still dragging on. 2015, they are still pending. They are still pending.
And even when convictions are secured, Dr. Jera believes sentences, on the whole, are no deterrent.
And you find that the court will sometimes give them very light punishment. Sometimes somebody is made to go and clean the community center. Sometimes they are given to pay 500,000 when they had stolen medicine worth possibly 5 million or even more.
If people were punished, real punished severely, that really becomes very risky to touch government medicines. We would really have less crime in that field. But there's so much leniency.
The HMU says it's committed, but all this sounds as if it's fighting the battle with one hand tied behind its back. And there is more.
The biggest challenge, number one, would be financial. I'm not having enough budget to send my team as I would wish.
We've shown how it's possible to buy large quantities of stolen UG medicines. But can we target those higher up the supply chain? To do that, it feels like we need to plug into people with real power. Patrick Kidega says he can deliver, claiming we can deal with district health officers or DHOs.
I have two DHOs. One is my brother. I can, okay, not the same mother, the same father, but he's my brother. We came from the same clan. He even speaks my language. He has been DHO in Arua, but right now he's where? In Bulu here.
DHOs are the district health officers, meaning they're the topmost government employee at the district level. And so DHOs have the authority to request for more medicines.
Patrick claims the man he says is the Gulu DHO doesn't want to meet us in person. Instead, he wants us to deal with his deputy. The meeting takes place with a man who calls himself Robert Onek.
Sorry.
Kasim gives Onek his fake business card.
First introduce myself, giving you my card. Sorry, I've been carrying it around.
The so-called deputy appears suspicious. Patrick tries to win him around with a white lie.
He has been my long-term friend for more than a year. And I knew him also, so this discussion.
Patrick became our spokesperson guy. He introduced us as friends who've been doing business with him for years and years.
So we were also trying to see the right people to work with, but also ensure it's a safe business for everybody, for me and him. Yeah.
But we just take it on adult dose only. But then
Onek finally comes on board.
So can do. You know, it's easy, but I don't know what the problem carrying. It's not easy. No, you know, the other things I'm not alone. So I just need to discuss with my boss also.
You are his deputy? Or
because I need to just go inform him, then discuss with him.
Oh, okay.
Then the boss man talk with at their level with the duty on the other side.
Which other side?
Kingdom side.
But the good thing is to be able tomorrow and tomorrow night, so at least you get something.
Like
Friday, at least you get something good.
Is it really possible DHOs, who have the power to order large quantities of government medicines, could be conspiring together to sell them on the black market? 3 days later, we meet Francis Odur, a man Patrick claims is the DHO of the Northern District of Kitgum. Patrick told us Odur is offering us a huge monthly supply of illegally acquired government drugs. Once again, Patrick, who has just come from church, is acting as our advocate.
the first time I met Francis Odur, the man who identified himself as the DHO of Kitgum, I felt intimidated.
Me, I like business. I like deal. Okay? I like business. I like deal.
Yeah.
Okay? And in terms of deal, huh? What do I mean? Truth should be there. And you must be trustworthy. Me, when I'm dealing with you, if I find that, because deal is dirty. You see the point? And if you're going to deal with me and Patrick, we need to be trustworthy. So that when you're leaving me, you go in peace. And you try your level best where you're going. Yes, now. You talk of Coartem, eh?
Coartem is an anti-malarial. Odur, who takes $100 from us as a so-called facilitation fee, claims he is in league with some major players who hold key government positions.
If anything, don't fear. Most of them are big, but I have big people. See,
if indeed Francis Odur is a DHO, all he has to do is to request a surplus amount of government drugs and then fiddle the figures. It's the same scam used by Jamila, the records officer from Arua.
For him, he can only request. I get it. So you will not get any cost. He's requesting.
And your office is
you
here
see,
or in, where is it? Your office?
me, Kitgum. You see, eh? Blacker deal. Eh? This is a blacker deal. I request, but when they follow me. Eh?
But you request when you have already back.
Odur seems to be suggesting he is involved in the perfect crime.
We'll hear from you, Jeff.
Yes, I'll give you a call, Patrick.
No problem.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
See you again.
Yeah.
Okay, please.
A crime where he cannot be caught. Later that day, Patrick and Odul call us to say Odul has delivered 96 boxes of anti-malarials. Patrick also said he had a further 143 boxes from a different source. The team did not do the deal. We simply didn't have enough money to buy that quantity of medicine. That same night, we returned to Kampala to store all the stolen medicines at my home before handing them back to the Ugandan government at the end of our investigation.
I mean, we came back from that operation really tired and late. And I told the team, hey, I got some good space so I can keep these. You guys go rest. So I took the drugs to my home, which actually was an error. I mean, at that moment, you don't know what you're risking.
Before our investigation ends, there was just one last deal to do with Richard Oraja, the pharmacist who boasted about delivering on stolen UG drugs but did not. Now, he promises the deal is on. I stay at our hotel while Kasim and Godfrey head out into the city to meet Richard. And then I lose contact with them.
Oh, come on, pick up.
You weren't?
Yeah, I'm nervous, man. I don't know where these guys are. I don't know if they're safe. I'm starting to get worried. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know where they are. I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
I press the panic button. Colleagues in Kampala and even London join in the desperate search.
Message the IGP, message every senior cop or every senior law enforcement body that you know of.
Kati obadde osaze magezi ki tukoze eki kyekigenda maaso otwa magezi ki
could be some bad cops or rogue guys or criminal guys who are holding them, and they may want a ransom, and that when it gets to that, then you get scared, man. You get really scared. Yeah.
I mean right now we don't know. We don't know. We can just try to find out.
Finally, 8.5 hours after Kasim and Godfrey went missing, I received word that they had been taken by military intelligence.
At least I knew that they were in the security's arms.
Then they ask us to go into the car. The first thing they say, you guys, why are you buying government drugs? We were not handcuffed, we were not beaten, we drive off.
At first they told me like, we thought you were terrorists. In fact, one guy told me like, you're lucky we didn't shoot you guys.
With my colleagues captured and in jail, it was my turn to be hunted.
The detective was kind of rough with us. Move. So they used, they tell me, go, take us to Solomon's house.
Thinking I was at home, the security services forced Godfrey to take them there. My wife Vivian and my children had to endure a terrifying ordeal as security services surrounded our home in the darkness. I was in contact with Vivian by phone.
Viv starts chatting me and telling me they are hitting the door. They are saying that you should open, flashing the lights at home, and
she was in fear. There's no way you can open for people in the night.
And Godfrey calls me and tells me, tell us where you are, we come and pick you. Of course, I couldn't say that. Eventually, I managed to get through one of the lawyers who wakes up and says, even my presence there doesn't matter, so let's wait until morning.
The wife of NBS journalist Vivian was arrested when police stormed his home and found Solomon Seranja missing.
And I love her more, man. Like, she took the bullet. She took my place. And right now, I didn't go to the dungeons because of her.
The whereabouts of Solomon Seranja remain unknown.
I was scared, man. I was freaking out all the time. I was thinking I'm the next. When I was in my room and I saw on TV the very station that I work for broadcasting.
We are looking for Mr. Seranja to help us with our investigation on how
he got the drugs in his house.
Government drugs ended up at his home.
Wow. So I'm like, okay, this is it. I have to turn myself in.
Our clients were working on an investigative story. However, along the way, I think government came to know and picked interest.
If these people had come and informed us in advance, we would have helped them, like giving them a backup security.
It is not under any law that when I'm doing an investigation or an investigative story, I must involve the police.
I fail to understand how do they arrest journalists, but at the same time, they can't get hold of these guys who are willing to sell like cartons and cartons of government-branded drugs, meant for the common man like you and I.
We need allies in the fight against corruption, and we should not punish those who are allying with government in the fight against corruption. They are not drug thieves, or we are not stealing government drugs, but they were actually doing investigative journalism.
After 2 nights holed up in a hotel, it was time for me to surface.
NBS TV investigative journalist Solomon Seranja, whose whereabouts were unknown, finally turned himself in at Central Police Station in Kampala.
I remember journalists coming in with me and chanting, he's one of our own, we have to get him out of here, and the police blocking them and telling them you can't go beyond this place.
That same day, we were all released on bond, pending further police investigation.
I mean, I remember when I was released, I spoke to the media and I told them this one thing. There are very many people who are living in rural areas, in Lamor, in Kitgum, in Gulu, in Arua, in Mubende, in Masaka, in Karamoja, who walk kilometers to go to access medical facilities and to access drugs. And once they've walked there to this health center 2 and 3, there are no drugs. And sometimes even at hospital level, there are no drugs. And it's not that the government doesn't provide these drugs, but it's because there are individuals out there who are actually selling these drugs. This is why we are investigating this matter.
This was not to brandish the Ugandan authorities in bad light, but this was done to expose who these people are. So we've done our part. It's over to the Ugandan authorities to do their part. Arrest the cartels and make sure Ugandans get what they deserve.
The Kampala pharmacist Richard Oraja told us he has never sold stolen Ugandan government medicine and denies he intended to sell us any UG anti-malarials. Oraja says he acted as a whistleblower, alerting the National Drug Authority to our undercover team. We checked this claim with the NDA, who say, while it is true he met agents briefly last year, Oraja passed on information about different UG drugs being smuggled by unnamed people into the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, which doesn't match the profile of our journalists. Both Patrick Kidega and Jamila Tim have since disappeared, believed kidnapped. Kidega's family told us he was abducted in Gulu 4 months ago by a group of men, some of them allegedly wearing Ugandan army uniforms, and carrying AK-47s. The family say they are desperate for his release. Patrick Rakara, who was with Patrick Kidega when we first met him, denies he is involved with the sale of stolen Uganda government medicines. We received no response from the Lacho Hospital pharmacist Alex or Arua Hospital management. Both Robert Oneg and Francis Odur turned out not to be district health officers as they claimed, but health workers in government health centers in Gulu district. Neither men responded to our requests for comment. To fight medicine theft in the future, the Ministry of Health is aiming to keep track of all drugs by computerizing its whole medicine distribution system.
And then we also hope that if every citizen gets involved in the fight against corruption, because it takes two for a deal to take place. So if everybody gets involved in this, we'll end corruption in this country and end the drug theft in our health facilities.
We got involved, but we paid a heavy price, and we may yet have to pay some more. The charges against us have still not been dropped. It remains to be seen whether we will be prosecuted.
Should I keep quiet when that is happening? No. I choose to speak up. I choose to tell my story. Because if this is going to change the future of this country, then it's worth it.